So yes, few things like we had last time question about like cost, and so ISO had a very good question about how to know the cost of a specific stack. So I think it's what we can go over, and like on the cost, and I just took a deck, like it was a last year deck from AWS. So I'm sure like most of the things are still true, but also AWS added some financial levers to reduce the cost of your AWS. What they can be challenging, but usually what you have, you need to make sure you follow a specific framework about cost. And if you do, for example, a well-architected review with us, it's something we can go over, like the cost pillar. But so there is a framework, it's very well organized, and everyone can find this framework, and we'll go a bit over it, like how to manage the cost, how to understand the cost. And bigger the organization come, and bigger your AWS accounts are coming, you need to be very careful about the cost, and you need to make sure you enable all the tools. And at some point, a partner like us will ask you to enable the tools, or AWS themselves, they will ask you to enable the tool, and they will notify you some of the tools are not enabled, and it's in your best interest to enable the tool. And I will talk a bit when we'll go over the tools, what specific tools you can take advantage. So AWS is providing cost visibility tools, and so it's and so there are free tools as a Cost Explorer, or also they have like even like some open source stack where you can load all the data from your billing data to Redshift. And if you use any BI tool like QuickSight or Power BI or Tableau, you can get this data. And so that, I think we have few customers doing it that way. And after you have like Cost Optimizer, AWS Cost Optimizer, and I think the most like Cloud Checker and Cloud Health, they are the two biggest ones. They come with a price pretty high, and they target mostly enterprise customers. But you have a lot of smaller tools. For example, we have our own tool, Track It app, you can use, and it gives you some visibility, and it can help your financial team to really understand and forecast where is going to be your AWS bill. So we'll talk a bit about these tools. And after, there is a cost optimization levers. And so you have financial one, or you have like more like based on the design. And yes, and Brad, maybe you talk, because we do a lot of serverless transitions, and usually it's a good one, like to go from like monolithic architecture. And usually one of the mistakes is to do a lift and shift from on-prem to AWS. So that it can be like some of the way to optimize your infrastructure, to optimize your cost. And usually the worst way, and for example, we saw it with there is a lot of like good migrations, but one of the worst way to do it is to use like to do a pure lift and shift and behave in AWS the same way you were doing in your data center. So I don't know, like ISO or Brad, do you have any questions or anything?
I think one thing, just to expand on what you said there, you know, oftentimes speed is really important. So you just might want to do a quick lift and shift to get your software into the cloud, but long term, you really ought to have a plan to migrating it to a modern software architecture, a serverless, which will really drive down the costs over time as well. Brute forcing it by throwing EC2 and a bunch of other expensive infrastructure is a great way to get things going quickly, but long term will end up costing you.
Yes, actually, and maybe we can share some example later in some architecture, like especially like I have one like VFX rendering workflow, where like sometimes it's easy because you have a stack on-prem and you have all your servers on-prem and you know how to do it, but it can be interesting to rethink how to do it in AWS. And actually, we are building it for one customer. And so we're using AWS Batch. So they push the asset to S3. And as soon as the asset land on S3, they go to AWS Batch, what is a basic job scheduler from AWS, and we are using Spot instances. So that is a type of services where it's totally serverless. You don't pay for server up and running all the time. Even the job scheduler is not like a server. It's a managed service. And so that is something you need to make an effort. Or also like on large NAS, we have been seeing some few things where it's more interesting to use S3 as a data lake and to spin up or spin down the services when you need it, and or use AWS dedicated services instead to have easy to running with open NAS or what we have customers using it, especially on the WordPress side. So like on the framework, usually like how it's going to work and the best way to do it on AWS, you have like well-architected review tool on AWS, and you can contact your AWS rep or contact a partner like us. And usually what is good when you contact someone like us, or at least a well-architected partner, you will get like $5,000 credits to perform this effort. And you can pick the cost optimization, but there is also, and you pick a workload. So it's really looking at your business, and the tool available in the AWS console is going to ask you a lot of questions. And we have been doing it with a lot of our customers, and it's very useful to educate and understand how to adapt your workload and to improve your workload from not only from a financial side, but since we are talking about cost optimization, to AWS, and it's asking you a lot of questions. And if you don't even want to involve AWS or a partner, you can do it yourself. And it's asking a lot of questions. And we have been like doing few workshops where the team are talking together between the product management team, the business team, and the engineering team. And it has been very efficient. So like usually what you need first, it's like to do like to have like some KPI, and the best way to have KPI is to have a tagging strategy. So that it's very important. And as soon as you have this tagging strategy, it helps you to get some cost visibility, and you can go to the next phase, what is cost optimization and forecasting. So, and actually most of our customers right now, they're more looking for forecasting, maybe because they are like at a stage where what is most important for them is forecasting, and it's what they want to understand from AWS than the cost optimization itself. But usually building the forecasting, we are able to explain to the engineering team where they could optimize the cost, but most of the time it's coming like on the forecasting, and because the CFO or the financial team, they want to forecast. So I don't know if you have any question on the AWS framework, Iso or Brad?
Not right now.
So like cost visibility, you are going to get like, so you are getting a monthly invoice from AWS, what is for most of people very hard to understand, and because it's one number, and so it's, and a lot of people are always coming say, okay, yes, it's not the best interest of AWS to explain you what you pay, and it's a one-line item. But I think I don't agree, because if you open a actually the only what is very important to know, like AWS support is not free. So if you have a technical question, you need to have like AWS support contract, and it's I think like a business support is like 10% of your AWS bill, what can be pretty high, and usually it's what we advise for production work, production accounts. But what is free, it's billing support. So if you ask a question about your bill, you will always get a good answer from AWS, or they will redirect you to a partner. And so usually they love to engage partners to help you with, or to redirect you to reseller partners if you start to have a lot of questions about billing. But they will answer your questions, and also they give you tools. And like sometimes you make mistakes, and we see a lot of customers and even ourselves Like for example, like what I saw lately, it's with a great tool like Cloud Endure, what helping you to do lift and shift. And the default settings are not very convenient, and sometimes you can have a surprise about the architecture Cloud Endure is going to pick for you, and it can be pricey. But if you contact AWS, and usually we have been helping a lot of customers who came to us because they started to spin up something and they lost the control and they didn't understand and they needed help to troubleshoot it. And I think actually we have a case study with one of our customers where they were spending something like $7,000 a day in CloudWatch logs, and it was generating by a different process. So AWS is going to be friendly. If you have a good explanation, if you make some efforts, they are going to give you credits, but they are going to ask you to activate some tools to avoid to make the same mistake again. And one of the tools is AWS Budget. So that it's one of the tools where AWS is going to ask us, okay, we're going to spend time with you because you made this mistake. Okay, we're going to be friendly. We're going to give you credit just to get your money back. But please enable the budget. And so that it's an effort. And I mean, you need to enable it, and like you need to work on it, and maybe to have someone once a month looking at them if the budget are still updated and making sense for the business. But so that AWS budget, you set a number saying, okay, I want to spend $800 a month in EC2 and $2,000 a month in RDS. If it goes over it, please notify me. And you can put like some soft quota or hard quota about the budget, and you can create rules about it. So if you did a great tagging, you can take advantage of your tagging and really advise to do tagging, and we can help you with that. So that is one thing. And like Cost Explorer, AWS Budget is one way to look at your data and to understand your cost. Well, first you have the billing console. So, and it's where like from very simple to more complex, you go to, you can do, so there is like files you can enable, and going to your S3, and you can use a DIY dashboard, like for example, pushing the data to Elasticsearch, or just like from QuickSight, and you will find a lot of solution open source doing that. Or you have third-party tools like Cloud Health or Trackit app, where they will help you to look at your data and to understand your data. So that is quick how it looks, the Cost Explorer, and play with it because it's going to help you. It's not going to go deep in details, but it's going to help you to understand something very fast. For example, easy mistake, it's like region. So for example, in our use case, we try to use only 2 regions. And actually we had the case for like our own account where we only use US East 1 and US West 2. So those are the only 2 regions we use. And so like we disabled every other regions because there is always like, we have one customer right now asking us to make tests in South Africa. So, and one of our engineers asked us, oh, can we enable the South Africa region? So first, he tried, and he didn't understand why he was not able to use the South Africa region. And we are happy because he never asked us, he never told us he will do it. And so, but he was just like trying to understand why he was not able to use it, and because we disabled it. And so we saw in the past, like it's so easy to spin up resources and never look at them. And especially in remote regions, because if you go to AWS console, the first thing you need to do is to pick a region, and you will see only resources from this region. So I never go to Middle East region, or I never go to Asian regions, so I will never see it. And sometime when you spend like $10,000 or $20,000 a month in AWS, if it's only $1,000, it's easy to waste money like that. So that's something to be very careful. And the Cost Explorer can help you to do that and to look at it, but also something very easy is to disable regions. A next tool coming with AWS, Budgets. set them up. Like it's first, it will help you to justify to AWS if one of your employee or one of your team member made a mistake, and say, oh yes, we set up budget and we realize someone made a mistake. And usually AWS will forgive very easily and will reverse the credits. But like spend some time, and I know some automated tool are helping you with the budget, but I think actually there's some work to do on this one. So like it would be great because the budget, they are very manual how you set them up. And usually what happened, people are setting up the budget and after, because AWS asks them to get the credits back for the mistakes they made, but they don't ever looked at it. And 3 months later, of course, the scope of the company change, the workload change, and like it's not, you are not running the same workload anymore, and you are using different stack, so that they are outdated. So maybe it's something good to put like once a quarter, maybe, okay, it's a time for the product management team and the finance team to review the budget. Do they make sense? But yeah, something good to have on the agenda. So cost and usage report. So that, I think it's a bit more advanced, and but you need to enable it as soon as possible, because like when you create a new account, because it will allow you to go back in the time and to understand. By default, it's not enabled, and it's generating CSV files with details about your consumptions, and tools like TrackItApp or Cloud Health or Cloud Checker. It's what they will ask for. So it's like and it's a very good tool to be able to go back in the time and to forecast your usage. And so if you are like a BI team, it's also something, because they will be able to integrate this data in any of their BI tools. So now, like, we talk about the tools AWS provide and what you need to do. There is like some cost optimization you can do from an engineering perspective, or just financial perspective and negotiation with AWS. First, and again, that it will be something you will go in a well-architected framework review, like make sure you right size. So what do you have enabled? Do you have like metrics in CloudWatch? How is it used? And if you have tagging, it's great because you can merge like data between your tagging, your metrics. And so you need to enable metrics. And like metrics can be CloudWatch, or it can be even Nagios, or third-party tools. Like we love Datadog, we love New Relic. They can be very good tool to understand. And usually it's also very interesting to look based on taggings, because you can look at a team and you can see team who made an effort to size correctly before to go to productions, or maybe some team with more pressure, they just oversized because they needed to go to production and they didn't look back. So like AWS is so easy, and like through like your infrastructure as code, or even like one right click and just like divide by 2 the size of an instance, you can do it, and it's very straightforward to do it. So make sure you have metrics and levers to do that, and to decommission unused resources and to understand them. So, and that again, we do it on a monthly basis on our own accounts, and we have some of the customer to do it, but have it on your agenda. So that is one first thing, like on the metric side, and decommission unused resources. Elasticity, think about it. Like try to maybe like when you create your applications, or just try to do serverless, like just to make sure you spin up resources and you provision resources only when you need it. So it can be like with auto scaling, or it can be like with managed Kubernetes, but like it's definitely something to work on And sometimes it's not that straightforward because it can mean changes on your applications, but it's something you need to keep in mind, and it's how you should use AWS, because you can buy for 3 years if you want, and we're going to come like on this financial level where you can just do like reserved instances, what is just like a financial mechanism or saving plan, saying, okay, I'm going to spend like $10,000 a month in EC2 instances, and I guarantee you I'm going to spend that much a month for 1 year or 3 years. And you can do like a full upfront payment, but so that it's an easy financial mechanism you need to do at one point. But like it can be two way. You can work with your finance team and to do that, or you can work with your engineering team, and usually you need to do both in parallel to make sure you get the best use of AWS or any public cloud provider, I would say. So that, like the financial mechanism, it's easy. There is no engineering to do, and you need to do it. If you never did it, and we have customers who are running like on-demand instances and never try to contact AWS for reserved instances or saving plan or private pricing, what you can get also if you go over a certain usage. Same thing for storage. It's like you don't buy storage when you used to buy it on on-prem. Like you can buy IOPS or you can buy throughput. So it's like two different equations, and the same thing you can get like you don't need to have your storage provision all the time. So like for example, let's say you have like some analytic to run, or actually we have like few use case, like the easy one, because I think about like cost optimization. You need to run your analytic on your cost. You are a large AWS consumer, and so like once a month you run your analytic. So you keep everything on S3, all your metrics are on S3, and when you need it, you load it in EMR, like in managed Hadoop, or you load it in Redshift, or just even like PostgreSQL. And as soon as your analytics are completed, you can terminate the data store. Same thing for job rendering or any like HPC workflow. When you need a job, you automate the deployment of the storage. And I think we have like one case study around it. We use FSx for Lustre, and we deploy FSx for Lustre, but it could be the same with EBS volumes, or it could be the same with like any type of storage where you turn it on when you need it, and you terminate when you don't need it anymore.
It's also a really good argument for automating and infrastructure as code. So, I mean, we're obviously big believers in doing that. So if you want to build anything that's ephemeral, that comes and it goes, want to make sure you have a really good method to automate that, to make it easy and efficient to do it.
Yep. And always design for cost, because you need to keep it in mind. Like when you design it, you need to understand how much it's going to cost you, how do you forecast. And so you have the AWS, again, AWS tools. Also, we can share some of the tools we built. I mean, we built like a very basic spreadsheet. Also, we have like actually a storage calculator. But yes, design for cost and try to think what is the best for you. Do you really need Redshift, for example? Or when do you need it? Yes, right sizing. Like on EC2 instance, it's a good way to do it, and you have a lot of benchmark available, and so like you just need to enable the metrics. So yes, like check the CPU, the network, and you can save like, and so that we have a lot of experience to do it for customers. So feel free to ask questions about that. Yes, and know about your workload. And going back to the well-architected review, usually when you do it on specific workload. It can help you to better understand your workload, and from like a financial team, understand what the engineering team is doing. So that way, like the well-architected review, and we can help to lead it, it can be good. Decommission unused resources, increase elasticity. Yes, so like just you don't need to plan to provision for the future right now. Just like in 1 second you can deploy. And as Brad said, if you did infrastructure as code, it's even easier because usually you can even automate that. Yes, also yes, very basic savings, like especially on non-prod. Do you need like when a developer needs to test his code, or like your CI/CD process? You don't run CI/CD on weekends. So same thing, automate it. Use like tools like code deploy and plan your CI/CD pipeline around it. And yes, like everything can be turned on, turned off in AWS anytime. So take advantage of it. Auto scaling, but also like make sure to Dockerize your applications, or like just go to Lambda functions. So think about it. Yes, so that like how you purchase your instance. Is it on demand through reserved instance? What is just a financial mechanism or saving plans now? Or spot instances. So spot instances, it's a very good tool, especially on jobs, and you have a lot of features around spot instances to really like to save up to 90%. So that it's something you and so actually we have customers running Kubernetes on spot instances. So if you have like a high available workflow, you can even run a high available like production critical workload on spot instances if you build in the way it's expected. Well, reserved instances, it's just a financial mechanism where you just plan your infrastructure on 1 year or 3 years, and you do like full upfront payment or no upfront at all. So that it's depending on how you want to do it and what type of saving you want to make.
These are basically discounts based on commitments.
Yes, storage. Like you have a lot of different type of storage. Like you can go all the way down, like from like the less expensive to S3 deep archive, to all the way up to EBS volumes with very high ops. So think what you need, and you can use most of them in parallel. So you can have your data in S3. You know you are going to run a specific job. You need the EBS volume, and there is a lot of services in the middle, like EFS or storage gateway, to get data from S3, or like more sophisticated services like Redshift to present the data who are in S3. So that is also one sample how to save money with like a S3 smart tiering, so that it can help you to automate it and enable it. And again, like here, like some of the tools, but a lot more where you can save money. And one we really like on the workload, think about serverless and Lambda, and how you can take advantage of it for your operations, where you don't need EC2, and also it's easier to forecast based on your business model, and it's easier to understand how much it is going to cost you to run the workload, and to integrate it in your business model and the company goals. Yeah, so that is a very interesting one where, yes, $1,000 if you non-prod workload, and if you decide it can run on CentOS Linux, it will only $700, and you start to turn it off when people are not using it. It saves the money, and like you can at the end, if you can run it on EC2 spot and just start the EC2 when you have you have any event triggered, it can be very low. So that is something you need to think about it, And definitely use a well-architected review tool in AWS to do it. Very helpful. So yes, if you want more, there's a cost labs, and also there's a lot of tools like calculator.aws, for example, where it helps you to build a simple monthly calculator, and maybe not with all the services, but with some services. And so if you have questions on some services, feel free to ask us. Happy to answer a question about it. So that it was like a, I don't know, like any question or anything.
I think that's helpful for sure.
So yes, like a cost calculator like this, I mean, you have like a, so AWS calculator, calculator.aws. So like it can be one way for the generic services like EC2, Lambda, but if you are more specialized services, like for example, like media services, media convert. So that, I mean, happy to share it with you if you have any question, but like that is a type of the effort we can build and understand how much it's going to cost you and forecast for a specific workload, where like you have step function, you have like transcoding with like how many pass on the transcoding and what type of formats, and also how much is stored, and if you do any AI services around it. So it can help you. So I think that's all for me. And again, what is more important, actually, it's also to design your application and to think how to optimize your application to match the cloud world, and what are the services you should use, what the services should not use, and not just try to replicate what you have in on-prem.
I think like with a lot of things financial, you can look at the investment in optimizing or cost optimizing your environment as a return on investment thing. So if you put in the work, you will get a return on the investment because you're going to save more money than the work you put into it. But it's also something that you need to do on a fairly recurring basis. So, you know, companies that have the institutional will to do that on a regular basis are definitely going to get some money out of it. There's also companies like us that, you know, as part of a retainer or contract, will, as part of that, say, okay, once a month or once a quarter, we'll look at what your costs are and look for a way to optimize it. And almost without fail, those things provide a return. You might spend some money for the external company doing the service, but you'll save more money than you pay them. Even better if you do it if you have the resources to do it internally. But there's definitely makes sense to pay attention to it. And there is a return on the investment you'll make as far as that goes, as far as savings money for spending a little bit.